Welcome to Well Coached, a podcast about how people, sales, profit, and self can transform your business. I'm your host, Chris Weinberg, and I have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs get into their highest productivity zone and become corporate enough to succeed. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to Well Coached with Chris Weinberg, the podcast where we explore people, sales, profit, and self to help you become a better leader and a better business owner. I'm your host, Chris Weinberg, and today we're diving into a topic that's crucial for anyone working with artists, creatives, and visionaries: leading through creative tension, navigating conflict in artistic teams. Creative teams are a unique breed. They thrive on innovation, passion, and artistic expression. But that also means there's probably going to be emotion, sensitivity, and sometimes a little chaos in the mix. If you've ever led a team of creatives, you know the challenge of balancing the art with the business can be a real challenge. So how do you foster creativity while still maintaining and meeting deadlines and profitability? How do you manage emotional conflicts without stifling innovation? And most importantly, how do you lead through tension without letting it break your team apart? First, let's talk about creative tension. It's the natural friction that happens when you bring passionate, talented people together with different perspectives, ideas, and emotional investments in their work. Creative tension can be healthy. It drives innovation, pushes boundaries, and challenges the status quo. But if it's not well managed, it can turn into destructive conflict, resentment, and even burnout. The two key challenges here: emotion versus execution. Number one, emotion versus execution. Creatives often think and feel deeply about their work. Business leaders need to deliver results and ensure profitability. This can create tension between artistic freedom and commercial reality. Now, when I say artistic freedom, that doesn't necessarily have to be a musical artist or someone in the entertainment field. That can be architects or anyone who's using the side of their brain to dream up something and create something out of nothing. Chefs would be one, architects, entertainment field people, the list goes on and on. When that clashes up against the ones responsible for making sure you're making money, that strain can become real. The second one is collaboration versus individual vision. Artists and creatives often have strong personal visions, but teamwork requires compromise. And when those two forces clash, it can create conflict. I see this dynamic all the time. Working with highly creative people means understanding that their passion is not just about their ego, it's about ownership. But if we don't provide structure, that passion can turn into chaos. So here's a couple more tools that we use. Two of the best. We talk about DISC all the time, and that's one of them. And I couple that with EQ, how to manage these creative teams. Two of the best tools out there, DISC and EQ, emotional intelligence. DISC, again, is understanding how different personalities handle conflict. Those high Ds, they're the fast-moving, results-driven, and direct. Conflict is not a dirty word. They want to push forward and hate inefficiency. In a creative setting, that might look like bulldozer. They may bulldoze through ideas or dismiss emotional concerns. High Is, always passionate, expressive, people-focused. They thrive on the collaboration, but can struggle with follow-through or constructive criticism. There's a high degree of emotion with high I creatives. High S, the steadiness folks. They're team-oriented, loyal, process-driven. They seek harmony, but they can struggle when there's too much tension or fast change. They also struggle if you put them on the spot. Right? They need time to process and don't need to take center stage in the heat of the moment. And then high Cs, detail-oriented, analytical, precise. They want perfection, but in a fast-moving creative world, they can definitely slow things down. Now, here's where things get interesting. I'm a high D, high I. That means I love vision and I love action, but I can sometimes get impatient with long creative processes. That's why I've structured my team intentionally. My right hand is a high D, high C, also highly creative, but she helps me bring structure and thoughtfulness to the big ideas. And my controller is a high C, making sure that we don't miss details along the way and accidentally go over a cliff. So understanding your team's DISC helps you lead them in a way that supports their natural tendencies instead of working against them. The second tool here is emotional intelligence, also referred to as EQ. The art here is managing emotions in conflict. And creatives often bring a lot of emotion to their work. And as leaders, we have to balance that emotion without dismissing it. That's where EQ comes in. EQ is made up of 4 different components. Self-awareness, that is understanding your own triggers. Are you reacting out of frustrations? Are you listening to what's being said? We can get deeper into that as time goes by. The second is self-regulation. Pause before responding. Think before you speak. Let tension take a breath instead of escalating it. Social awareness. That's your ability to read the room. A high I might need reassurance. A high C might need logic, right? That's you reading the room and deciding what does each person in this debate or conflict or discussion need from me. And then the final one is relationship management or social regulation. That is you leading with empathy, but also holding the line on business priorities. One of the best things you can do as a leader is acknowledge emotions without letting them dictate business decisions. Sentences like, I hear you, and I know this is important to you. Let's find a way to balance the creativity and the execution. That simple statement alone can shift the tone of an entire conversation. So let's talk about some practical strategies for leading through creative tension. Now that we understand creative tension, we've talked about the tools of DISC and EQ. Let's get into some practical ways to lead through it. Number 1, create clear boundaries between art and business. Not every idea is going to be viable. Set clear expectations for when creative exploration is encouraged and when decisions need to be final. In my world, I call it sandbox time versus execution time. We allow space for the big idea, but once we've committed, we move forward. Number 2, facilitate constructive conflict, not destructive conflict. Encourage debate, but set ground rules. Attack the idea, not the person. Help high C's and high D's respect the high I's emotional investment. And man, you talk about conflict, that can really come in. High I's are pie in the sky, big dreamers, always thinking in terms of abundance. High C's and high D's are often thinking in terms of scarcity and logic. So it's a natural conflict state there. So make the deal up front to allow the space for the big ideas to flow, but also allowing that we've got to timestamp it and we've got to move on. And also make sure your high S's aren't steamrolled by stronger personalities. So many times high S's on the team have the answer. And I like to think of high S's as glue, particularly in conflict, if you can give the high S space to contribute to the conflict. They're smooth, they're calm, and they're the best listeners. Number 3, use the yes and technique. When tensions rise, instead of shutting ideas down, use yes and instead of no but to keep conversations moving productively. Number 4, totally appropriate to appoint a creative liaison. If you lead a creative team, but you aren't naturally creative yourself, find someone who speaks both languages, business and art. They can help translate concerns between the two worlds. And 5, give feedback that resonates with different DISC types. High D's, keep it direct and action-oriented. You do not need to mince words. High I's, make it encouraging and engaging. High S's, make it steady and supportive. And high C's, logical, data-driven responses will always resonate. Managing creatives isn't about making everyone happy. It's about making sure everyone feels heard while keeping the business moving forward. So if there's one thing that I want you to take away today, it's that creative tension isn't a problem, it's an opportunity. Some of the best ideas come from tension. Your job as a leader is to guide it, not suppress it. Remember, conflict and tension only happen when one or more persons cares about something. If you want to go deeper into DISC, EQ, or leading creative teams, then reach out. Let's talk about how to get the best out of your team without losing your sanity. And if you found this episode valuable, share it with someone leading a creative team. Subscribe to Well Coached with Chris Weinberg for more insights on people, sales, profit, and self. Thanks again for listening. Now go lead your team with confidence.
Well, guys, that's a wrap for today. We thank you a ton for listening and looking forward to the next episode
where we'll continue this journey on how becoming corporate enough can put you in your highest productivity zone to create a successful, profitable, and purpose-driven business for you.